Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of Warcraft. I have never played the game World of Warcraft, so my views on this film might be completely different than those of you who have actual experience with the source material. However, I had a pretty alright time. I thought it was a fun movie. Plus, they gave out these awesome shirts and then these little mint packs. Right? Aren't those really cool little promo materials? But outside of the fun experience they created at the actual screening itself, the movie was better than I expected, which wasn't really hard because I have to admit, my expectations were pretty low. So let's go ahead and start off with what the movie gets right, because there is quite a bit to talk about. First of all, for the majority of the film, the visuals are very well done. The orcs, for the most part, are extremely well realized, and Toby Kebbell, great motion capture work yet again. He was in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and now here he is the next Andy Serkis, maybe? I don't know, but he delivers each and every time they put him in that mocap motion capture. He did wonderful as the main orc that we are meant to connect with, and we really do connect with him based on Toby Kebbell's performance and the rendering of the character. But really, these big, fantastical, bird hybrids were so gorgeous and so cool to look at. The wolves looked great. The landscapes looked wonderful. There were just one or two muddled scenes where it kind of went into video game territory. And then a couple of scenes or a couple of characters just in general that you were kind of like, that definitely looks like CGI. But for the most part, in whole, the visuals really lived up. Outside of Toby Kebbell, I thought Paula Patton was wonderful and still super duper hot through all of that makeup and those tusks. I just think she's gorgeous, and her charm and good looks shined through all of that. Robin Thicke, you're an idiot. I also thought Ben Hardy was very strong in this role as well. Some of the other actors definitely dropped the ball, but we'll go ahead and circle back around to them in the negatives. But I thought they built up the mythology really nicely. They really kind of gave motivation to what was happening. It wasn't just senseless, we hate your kind of war. There was something actually going on. They brought in a lot of otherworldly supernatural elements, so you were really immersed into this culture. And you were really buying into the world that Warcraft was really creating here, from the magic to the creatures to the different realms. It all just felt very authentic, and you just enjoyed really being a part of this world. But also I loved that this movie had such high stakes. People die in this movie. I'm just going to tell you right up front. People die. I'm not going to say who, but know that your characters in this... But just know, characters in this movie are not safe, and that just raises the stakes. You're left shocked sometimes, you're left just kind of baffled by some decisions, but it just raises the entire intensity of the film because nobody is a sure pass to the end. However, we do have plenty of negatives as well. First of all, let's just start with those acting performances I wanted to circle back around to. Dominic Cooper was okay, but being one of the actual name talents in this film, it just was a letdown. He definitely couldn't carry the material, and I don't know, he was just kind of there, and you're like, hey, Dominic Cooper. But really the biggest weakness was Travis Fimmel, who plays our main human character. And that's just such a huge problem to me. I don't know what it was. He just seemed completely disconnected from the material. It was all very lighthearted and jokey no matter what the stakes were. He just never was able to bring the proper gravitas to a leading role. He would have been wonderful as a side character that just kind of came in to provide that nice comedic relief and alleviate all the tension. Instead, he was the main character that we were supposed to relate to and root for, and it didn't work for me. But really, the two biggest problems I had with this film kind of overlap with each other. I left feeling like, alright, that was a pretty fun, alright time, but I also left feeling like this was still a second-rate Hobbit film, not even a second-rate Lord of the Rings film. Now, to be fair, I enjoyed the Hobbit movies. I know they had their problems. I fully acknowledge their problems, but I liked all three of the Hobbit movies, some more than others, but I thought they were a good time. And here, I enjoyed this movie too. It just felt like maybe it was on par with the weakest of the Hobbit movies, a little bit under par with the weakest of the Hobbit movies. And that leads to really a lot of the middle stretch just falling flat and being boring. And unfortunately, that's the biggest sin a movie like this can commit, is just being boring. And there was action going on in these middle sections in that whole second act, but it just seemed kind of senseless. You didn't really care. It just was going on and you were like, okay, well, this is fun. Can we just move along, please? Can we inject some life into this movie? And really, that feels like it might be the core of the problem, is that it's just so much CGI all the time that it did end up feeling lifeless through chunks of the film, so it really halted momentum. And the script really let the story down, and that's so unfortunate. The graphics looked great, the story itself was really, really solid, and for the most part, the performances were selling what we were looking at, and the emotional investment was there. It's just, you heard some of those lines of dialogue, and you're like, oh, all right, script writers, can we try harder next time? So overall, I had a fun time with Warcraft. It's definitely not the best movie of the year, not even close to my favorite of the year. And honestly, this might fall under guilty pleasure category for me, kind of like Seventh Son did last year. So I'm gonna give this a matinee. The 3D looked good, the visuals were solid enough, and it's just kind of a fun time at the movies without having to think too much, and you'll leave pretty satisfied. But I don't think it's worth a full price ticket, so don't go that far. Matinee will do. So, that has been my review of Warcraft. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below, and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on our latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see Warcraft? Are you a player of World of Warcraft? If you are, what are your thoughts on this film? If you're not, what are your thoughts on this film? Let me know either in the comment section down below or hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!